Shit just fell apart. Alright. Hey, good morning. It is 8:33 Monday, January 13th, 2025. This is Justice's Waiting Room. It's a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics, except I'm a socialist. So that means I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. So yesterday we started out live on Fanbase, and we were slow to draw. So today we're gonna go live and we're gonna try Clapper. Okay. So if you don't mind jumping over to Clapper, okay. One of the cool things about Clapper that I like, okay, this is things that TikTok's already got figured out, okay. But I want to lead off with, we're still in the mind frame that this is the end of TikTok, right? We've got about a week. Okay. Okay. So when I talk about where we're going, good morning, Maru. Okay. When I talk about where we're going, okay, I'm going wherever it's got the functional application. Okay. Here's the way I see it. Okay. I think that fan base is a great application if you are a musician. I have absolutely no intentions of not also posting my content there. It's it's just I think that website is for musicians, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Fan base, if you are a fucking musician, I will scroll that shit all day. I sat there for an hour last night. I watched drum solos. I watched people just singing in a mirror. I watched bands. I watched orchestras. I watch it all. Fan base is awesome. Okay. So when you hear me speak on these other, I'm not poo pooing them. I fucking wish Dirty Ike all the luck in the world. I hope it fucking works. Okay. Clapper though, which is where we are now, because I know people are like, wait, you're just talking about fan base. You just went live on Clapper. Okay. Well, hi, my name is Jared. I have a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics, except I'm a socialist. Okay. And socialism, just so everyone knows what that is up front. Okay. Socialism has four main pillars. I want universal health care, education, income, and housing for everyone. I don't want there to be homeless people. I don't want people getting divorced because of their debt. I don't want people not getting an education because they can't afford it. Okay? And then one of the ways that you can help give everybody equal footing is universal income. A couple $1,000s a month, I think. I think everybody should get it. Everybody gets just an extra paycheck on Fridays. I think of it as like reparations. But for everyone, and it should be as an extension from COVID. I'm still of the thought process that Donald Trump is guilty of crimes against humanity according to the International Criminal Court for his mishandling of COVID-19 and the deaths of 750,000 people, Americans, which is on his hands. The CDC put out a report before the election that said Donald Trump is responsible for 750,000 American deaths as a result of his negligence. And obviously, there's been no attempt to try him for that. And a lot of people have been asking me, why do you keep bringing up Donald Trump and the ICC? And that's why. That's the primary reason I think that Jack Smith was sent to the United States, is to investigate Donald Trump for his crimes, produce charges where available, which he did that, and then return to the ICC. And something to think about, I have friends that are lawyers, no less than a couple of them. And one of the conversations that we recently had was about, well, what happens to all of the information? Okay. And from what I understand, it kind of works like this. If you get a result, like a conviction and charges, um, generally you're going to keep a lot of the information, but some of the information kind of goes with it. Does that make sense? It's kind of hard to explain because, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I didn't stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but there's some expectation that you're going to lose some information when a guy gets sentenced to prison or a fine. And in the instance where you produce charges, it goes to sentencing. He's 78 years old and broke. They don't charge him money. They don't give him prison time because he has Secret Service. So here's the thing: I want to make sure that we do. If we're gonna be upset about some shit, I want us to be upset about the right things, right? Be angry. I'm angry all the time, but you got to be angry about the right shit. My wife has long COVID. It has negatively impacted her energy levels for a few years. So I fucking hate Donald Trump because I'm pretty sure he fucked my wife up. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump's negligence caused my wife's long term health problems. I didn't say a fucking word about treason. That's something that you charge him for here. So, for everybody that has seen my content, is now seeing me talk about Donald Trump being responsible for 750,000 COVID deaths, and that being why the ICC might get involved. Um, I also 1,000% believe the man committed treason. And keep in mind, treason has three parts. First of all, one of the big things about treason that we have to get away from. If you're going to be a part of my community, one of the things we will not do is we will not perpetuate lies. Okay. One of the things you got to understand about treason, it does not require a formal declaration of war. Point one. Let's put a pin in that because we're going to go immediately to point two. You also do not have to declare war. Do you understand? You don't have to declare war to charge someone with treason, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be during a war to charge someone with treason, because there's three parts to treason. Okay, so what we got out of the way early, is that you have to lawfully be in a war situation for the first of the three phases of treason to apply. Okay, so it does say in a time of war, right? But then the next two things are, or give aid or comfort to the enemy thereof. Where have you ever heard that before? That's right, in the 14th Amendment, Article 3. So keep that in mind. When I'm telling you Donald Trump committed fucking treason, and your brain's like, no, he didn't, because they didn't charge him for it yet. Right. And that would be why Jack Smith dismissed without prejudice his looming cases. And I talked to my buddies that are lawyers, and I asked, so what happens if you're Jack Smith? You have a great understanding of international law, right? And the U.S. law. And you're investigating Donald Trump, and you find treason. What do you do? Well, it's a matter of national and international security for you to come out with that information publicly. Probably not ideal. Okay? We understand the fires in California were not naturally caused. I want to make sure that we hit that early and often in every show we do. There's very little evidence that suggests that the fires in LA were entirely caused by a natural disaster. And the reason we get to point at some people and say they're to blame is because they literally caught on video. And one of the things, I have to break myself up here. Oh shit. What the fuck, Jared? Sorry. Oh, where's the little metal piece? It's like my foot moved. Okay. And I forgot what I was gonna say because cords are all everywhere. Hold on, just a second. Let me go plug this thing back in. Okay, I want to make sure. Um, we talking about like Donald Trump being guilty of crimes against humanity. I believe that his clumsy mishandling of COVID-19 is because it came from Vladimir Putin. he received marching orders from Vladimir Putin. He gave COVID testing kits to Vladimir Putin, testing machines. Let me back up. At the beginning of the COVID outbreak, Donald Trump gave COVID testing machines. For the record, I have been to the VA hospital like 4 different times, 3 or 4 times now, to get a vaccine. And I've yet to see a COVID testing machine in real life. So again, I don't know what you think treason looks like. I don't know if you know what that looks like. But that sounds an awful lot like giving aid or comfort to the enemy thereof. Does it not? And so if I'm Jack Smith and I find, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. And the reason I say that stuff is just to clear myself from anybody trying to take a legal shot at me. First of all, I get free legal aid for life, so I'll fucking go. Right? But I'm pretty sure if you're Jack Smith and you're investigating Donald Trump for whatever the fuck he's done, and then you learn, just like we learned, that Donald Trump gave COVID testing machines to Vladimir Putin, is that treason? Yes. That's giving aid or comfort to the enemy thereof. And it's like in your face. You can debate that, but wouldn't you just rather charge him with it and let him figure it out in a courtroom? Because Russia is an enemy of the American people. Russia, Vladimir Putin, has bounties on American soldiers. Russia, most recently, paid up to $200,000 per mission. Per mission. To the people of, it was Al-Qaeda fighting in Afghanistan against Americans. $200,000 per mission. Per mission. So, you got to understand, like, Russia is an enemy of the American people. Vladimir Putin is the fucking dictator of Russia. And again, that's our enemy. That's the entire reason NATO exists. So, when we start our show and someone's going to eventually ask in the comments, when are you going to talk about what you posted yesterday that's currently fucking viral right now? Last I checked before we went live, like 60 plus thousand views. And the headline story was Donald Trump barricaded himself in Mar-a-Lago. First of all, let's talk about what the truth really is. A bunch of Republicans were on Mar-a-Lago this weekend. That's a fact. We can debate it. But a bunch of Republicans stayed at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. There's also construction going into Mar-a-Lago, and it's down to 1 lane. Those are facts. Those are facts. I'm not debating those things. But I saw photos of people trying to drive on a Mar-a-Lago that got turned around, and there's a blockade that you got to drive around. And on Reddit, somebody commented that they live within 3 miles of Mar-a-Lago, that it's true that he did lock down Mar-a-Lago, okay? And that he does this shit all the time, and it pisses off the locals. Additionally, so for the record, what I said was true. So thank you to the Madriarchy, who kind of, I was zoning out playing video games, and somebody hit me up like, hey, okay, Brasher, okay, and said, hey, the old Donnie Boy's locked himself in Mar-a-Lago. And I proposed immediately a couple of possible scenarios. One, did the local PD lock down Mar-a-Lago? to try to figure out who's coming in and who's coming out because they're working with the feds. Okay, that's a distinct possibility. Okay, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They're like, what? Or did Donnie do it himself in a fit of paranoid delusion? And you ask anyone that's a psychologist, anyone that's well read, anybody that's read about history, I don't know, what's the end of Nazi Germany? What was Adolf Hitler going through there at the end? Oh, was he going through a fit of paranoid delusion before he fucking... Oh, interesting. Interesting. So yeah, I want to make sure we get on here and stamp our feet and say thank you to my mods who helped me realize that that story needed to be told. And also, a lot of people are like asking me, like strangers, hey, I heard a rumor that Mark Root was in Camp David within the last couple weeks. And I can't corroborate that. I cannot confirm that. I can deny it and say like no, that didn't happen, but I'm not that cocky. I'm willing to bet you know what they want us to know. And if the head of NATO was in Camp David in the last couple fucking weeks and I have no way to verify that information, that's a fucking good thing. That's a good thing. So to everyone out there freaking the fuck out, what are you freaking out about? I got a message this morning, and I want to talk about it, okay? I won't name names, okay? But I got a message, and it said, what level of optimism are you at regarding Donald Trump, okay? And one thing you got to know about me is I'm 0 or 100. So when you ask me what my optimism level of how confident am I that what's going to happen, 100 and 0. You see, I happen to believe that our elected officials and those 344,000 federal government employees whose livelihoods are on the line, they're duty bound. They don't get to choose. Their personal politics should not be playing a role in their investigation or in the charges that are filed. They are duty bound. So I'm 100% confident that Donald Trump is not eligible for the job per the 14th Amendment Article 3. And remember, we're going to keep talking about it because people are dumb. The 14th Amendment Article 3 has 3 conditions in my eyes. And the first is that you have to have already held public office. So if you're getting in a conversation with someone and you want to iterate that Donald Trump's not eligible for the job per the 14th Amendment Article 3, how do I do that? You tell them. You know what? This guy that I know, he broke it down and made it real easy to understand. There are 3 conditions to the 14th Amendment Article 3. The first is that you had to have held public office. And I think we can all agree that Donald Trump held public office. He was the 45th president of the United States. I don't feel like that's too big a hurdle to jump over. Okay? Now, the second part of that is you had to participate in an insurrection, and he got convicted of that, 5743, by his own. Keep in mind, he was in power. He was in power. Then he got impeached after he was out of power and convicted twice of participating in an insurrection. The thing that people got to get it right, because I'm one of those people, if you can't tell the truth, I'm going to fucking have a problem being friends with you. People have been commenting on all my work forever that they couldn't convict him of it and that they didn't even remove him from office. And again, I'm not a lawyer, But the 14th Amendment, Article 3, doesn't say anything about removing someone from office. That's the easiest way to explain it. It doesn't fucking talk about that. That's not something that you can fucking do. They were voting on whether to remove him from office. It failed 57-43. He needed something like a handful of more votes against him, and we're not even having this fucking conversation. But it has to be a conversation because there are stupid people doing backflips for Donald Trump. And so what we have to say is that there's no debating whether or not Donald Trump's guilty of inciting it and participating in an insurrection because 2 fucking courts said that he did. 2. And a lot of people are up in arms. What do we, like, how come he didn't get charged with treason then? Would have been difficult to do that in his own administration, don't you think? Given that they failed to remove him from office? I'm just spitballing. So, a lot of people that should shut down a lot of doubt, right? Because a lot of people are like, but you jump through fucking hoops. The Colorado decision, right? You'll jump through hoops for that man that people would never fucking jump through for me. See, I'm gonna show you. I'm in a world of hurt. I need about $200 ASAP to keep my fucking internet on. I'm supposed to start a job on the 20th. Okay. Yeah, I think it's correct. It's going to require more money than it did last night. And that's because my wife had to take a fucking loan to keep her fucking bills paid. Okay. So like I said, I need help. The best way to do that is PayPal. Don't worry. If you can't do it, don't even worry about it. But I need like $175. I'm negative 50 and I got a $118 bill due, and there's a penalty to transfer money from PayPal. So 175 minus a little penalty means we'll get to keep the internet on. Now don't worry. I haven't like shared my Patreon or asked for money, mostly because I got a job offer. So a lot of the things that we were thinking about raising money for, we don't even need to do that anymore. But internet bill came out. Internet bill tried to come out and got kicked. And so I'm expecting at any time my internet access to go out. And a lot of people have already helped me. And I've tried to keep it to a fucking minimum. Mostly because my wife works full time, but as the cost of goods goes up, cost of services go up when you're only on one income, right? Right. And for the record, I was supposed to start a job January 1st. So for those out there that are even thinking of being like merciless towards me, a colleague I worked with at a couple different businesses, her husband got a promotion at his job where now he makes like close to 200 grand a year, and he was going to let her start her own insurance agency. So I understand it's not like I've been sitting on my ass and doing nothing since July. I was supposed to start a job October 1st. A colleague of mine was going to start a farmer's agency, and she backed out because the executives got mixed up. So like they got a bunch of new people, and they wanted to change the deal that she'd signed, and she backed out like a smart person would do. And she decided she was going to start a Goosehead agency on January 1st, and she asked me to be her agent. And since basically the week before Thanksgiving, she's been ghosting me. So I don't know about you all, but I could not have on any bingo card have had a colleague of mine ghosting me after they offered me a job going into the new year. Didn't have that on my bingo card. Okay. So if anybody's wondering why I'm struggling, I'll take the blame, but understand I also can point to things that happened and say, well, that happened. Okay? And I'm not worried about it. my community has come through for me on more than one occasion. And now, so I think, once you realize, like, okay, Musk has trapped himself on Mar-a-Lago, in some form or fashion, some way. And then a lot of people have been asking me about Mark Rutte, about the head of NATO being in Camp David, and I can't corroborate that, right? But here's what did happen. On January 9th, at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, SecDef, like, I don't know, probably one of the most top 5 most powerful people in the United States. When I think of power, I think president, vice president, then who's under that? Speaker of the House, I guess. But I wouldn't call him powerful. I would say like Secretary of Defense, pretty goddamn powerful, right? Well, Lloyd Austin, okay, hosted Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, 4 days ago on the 9th. So for everyone that's like, how come Joe Biden and Rutte aren't meeting up and shit, don't you think that would be like a really obvious meeting? Don't you think like everyone knowing that would be a fucking problem? Right? So for anyone asking me, hey Jared, how come? Well, how come they didn't publicize that? They actually did. It's all over the fucking internet. So NATO, SecDef, and Ukraine's president met 4 days ago. Okay? I want to tackle this too. A lot of people are coming at me and they're saying, Joe Biden's administration are doing all these things, putting up all these safeguards to stop Donald Trump. And it's actually not that, it's Project 2025 that they're legislating toward. Because one of the things that I've said during this whole process is it doesn't actually matter if Donald Trump becomes president or not. He has set a precedent. He has put a plan in place. People have an idea now of how to attack Democrats, how to attack democracy. Did I say that they're going to succeed? I haven't said that. But again, I want to make sure everyone knows, like, my confidence is tied to the rule of law in this matter. So a lot of people are, how are you so confident? And it's like, well, there's rules. And see, the rules say that you can run for office. All right, let's back up. Start at the beginning. You could win your primary for your party, run for office, get elected, be confirmed, right? Certified. But you can't actually take the job. That's how I interpret the 14th Amendment Article 3, how it applies to Donald Trump. Nowhere in the 14th Amendment Article 3 does it say you can't run for office, you can't get elected, you can't win your primary, you can't be the president-elect. First of all, that's not a job. So everyone understands, president-elect, not a fucking thing. Technically, he's still a private citizen. He just won a popularity contest. I'm putting that in fucking quotations. Okay. And then I think we got to start with, okay, a former Twitter employee on Substack, okay? And keep in mind, if you're watching this on YouTube, I can post links in the chat. One of the problems I have with Clapper right now is I can't just go on Clapper's website and look at this live stream and comment in the chat. I have to like do it with my hands again. Okay. Somebody asked if I got banned again. Yeah, I got banned for telling a story. It's a true story. Okay. Hello. Hey, Wetty. Techland Flora. Okay, so I think the first thing you got to talk about is a former Twitter employee on Substack talking about how Elon changed. Okay. Okay. I think you got to read that Substack. It's the top story on Something Is Wrong 2024 right now. Okay. And then I want to talk about some interesting House bills. This is another story on Something's Wrong 2024 that, in my eyes, the bills being filed here tell you what's going on. Oh, no kidding, Jackie. So here is how Republicans plan to fight Joe Biden's administration and the safeguards they've tried to put in place to try to block them. Andy Biggs from Arizona introduced H.R. 117 to repeal the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Okay. They want to keep you from surveilling foreigners as they try to communicate with Americans, right? H.R. 23, Roy Chip from Texas, okay? And then what it seeks to do is illegitimize the International Criminal Court. I wonder why they're doing that. Why would Republicans file a bill to delegitimize the ICC? See, here's the thing. I thought that all you MAGAs thought that the International Criminal Court doesn't have jurisdiction in the United States. So I don't understand what the problem is. What's the problem? What's the problem with the ICC? Why did Roy Chip file H.R. 23? The Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act meant to delegitimize the ICC if we're not members. We're not members of the ICC. Oh, the Dodd Amendment. Remember that? Remember I told you about how the ASPA came out during the Bush administration, and it basically said, like, the U.S. isn't going to participate in the International Criminal Court. I wonder the fuck why. I wonder why George Bush didn't want to do that. Because the answer is because he'd be liable for war crimes. You can book it, Dano. But right after the ASPA, the American Service Members Protection Act, was signed, the Dodd Amendment was added to that. And long story short, it just said, actually, in the event that it's like war crimes or bad enough crimes, the U.S. will cooperate with the ICC. So understand that as we sit right now, the ICC could absolutely come here and arrest anyone. Why do you think Donald Trump barricaded himself on a Mar-a-Lago? Starting to put the pieces together? Okay. Let's look at another bill. How about House Resolution 15, rescinding the subpoenas issued by the January 6th Select Committee on September 3rd, 23rd, 2021, October 6th, 2021, and February 9th, 2022, withdrawing the recommendations finding Stephen K. Bannon, Mark Randall Meadows, Daniel Scavino Jr., and Peter Navarro in contempt of Congress. And that was filed by Rep. Eric Burleson out of Missouri. He's a Republican. It's a weird bill. Weird bill. Oh, by the way, H.R. 96 filed again by Andy Biggs, right? H.R. 96 to prevent agencies from using unmanned aerial vehicles to conduct surveillance of United States citizens and for other purposes. So does that answer your drones question? Anybody? Oh shit, Jared. That explains why there were fucking drones all over the country doing fucking surveillance, which is what I told you. If it doesn't have munitions on it, it has flashing lights, and it ain't getting shot out of the fucking sky. guess what? That drone is a government vehicle. And if it don't have guns on it, it's not meant for combat. What's it for, Jared? Surveillance. And now you got a bill right in your eyeballs. HR 96, filed by Andy Biggs, meant to eliminate UAVs doing surveillance. Huh. I wonder what happened there. How about House Resolution 25, expunging the January 13th, 2021 impeachment of President Donald John Trump. Filed Marjorie Taylor Greene, January 9th, 2025. Why do they want to expunge his impeachment from January 13th, 2021? Does anybody know why? And keep in mind that's an anniversary. That happened 4 years ago today. Why? Why can't... That's so weird, Jared. Why would they try to get rid of that impeachment? Could that be the one that says he's guilty of inciting an insurrection and therefore not eligible for office? Huh. How about House Joint Resolution 8, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to provide certain line item veto authority to the president? And what do you think that bill, submitted by Tom McClintock, a Republican from California, why do you think that bill exists? Oh, maybe it's because they see Joe Biden passing all these bills, signing all these bills as he goes into office, or leaves office, sorry. And Donald Trump, still thinking he's going to be president, is having his little cronies, for the record, tell you exactly who they are. Exactly who they are and what their intentions are. Have they not said that this whole fucking time? They've told us everything. Right? Okay. So there's House Joint Resolution 8 to give the president line item veto. That lets him undo the 625 million acres that Joe Biden said you can't frack or whatever. Right? It lets him veto line items. Okay? How about HR 283, Dusty Johnson from South Dakota, filed January 9, 2025, to authorize the president to enter into negotiations for the reacquisition of the Panama Canal from the Republic of Panama. How about HR 276, filed by Marjorie Taylor Greene, to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America? Wonder why. Is this being covered on mainstream media? Are they talking about how Republicans are telling you exactly who they are, exactly what they're going to do? Right? They're going to repeal his impeachment, right? They're going to withdraw it, right? And erase it from history, right? It's to the victor go the spoils, right? Again, I think they're telling you exactly who they are, exactly what their intentions are, and I think it's all part of it. I think that I've been saying Donald Trump's patsy. I think now, the farther we get into it, all his little MAGA cronies are also patsy. And they're trying to all blame it on Vladimir Putin. And trying to force the ICC's hand by introducing all these troublesome bills into our government. Now, understand, okay, not any of these bills have been passed. They've all just been introduced, as far as I can see. The Illegitimate Court Act did pass the House. Okay? Okay? A lot of people are saying invoke the 14th Amendment, Article 3 now. And I think that this week, and the events that are going to transpire, are going to tell you like everything you need to know, right? Like right now, like I said, Donald Trump barred himself in Mar-a-Lago. Okay. Oh, speaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene launching an unhinged call for officials to manipulate the weather to stop the LA wildfires. Georgia, what the fuck? Right? And a lot of see the right hand don't talk to the left. Donald Trump and JD Vance are clearly not on the same page, right? Because here's a story from Mother Jones saying the insurrectionists are having a fucking meltdown because JD Vance says Trump shouldn't pardon violent January 6th insurrectionists, which is a fucking split from Donald J. Trump. John J. Trump has promised to pardon them all day one in office. Okay? And then again, I'll post the link. And understand one of the things that people are really worried about is, be like Donald Trump deploying the U.S. military on its own people, and understand that that's not a lawful order. So anybody, if you've got people that are on active duty, or they're part of their National Guard, you aren't obligated to acknowledge orders to kill Americans. And one of the things that I know, okay, about the U.S. military that maybe this will help ease your fucking mind. When I served in the military, it was mostly white. But since I've come home, the military is now very diverse. And I say that to say, back in the day, it was less than a quarter of all the people that served were minorities, and now they're the clear majority. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. See, what happened is Republicans have decried military service. They've basically said, if you're in the military, you're not on our side. And what they don't realize is that about the only way any of us ever became or are going to become homeowners is to serve our country and understand that a VA home loan carries a 1% down payment on a house. So again, I'll tell you, the U.S. military now is very diverse, and that's a good thing for all the people that are serving. When they go to buy a house, they only got to pay 1% down. Everybody else got to pay 10 to 20%, right? And that's typically the barrier to keep people from buying homes. So, hey, to me, that's a great story because it says people ain't following unlawful orders when they're a very diverse group of people that have been training for shit like this for years, right? And I know that you don't follow unlawful orders and you challenge your leadership when they make poor decisions. And there's going to be people on active duty that are fucking nutterbutters. There's going to be people in the military in positions of leadership that are fucking crazy. Yep. But there's people that work for them that are not fucking crazy and are not following unlawful orders. So, again, we weren't even talking about Donald Trump becoming president. We were talking about a president pushing his own military on his own people. Okay? The people in service, they're not doing that shit. Okay? And this, what's going on with DeSantis failing to call special elections for the 2 seats there in Florida? 2 vacant seats in the state legislature, no action, right? Oh. I woke up to this and I was like, very nice. Very nice. Russia is being set aflame by hundreds of arson attacks. Now, it also tells you exactly what happened in LA. Okay. I'm reading some headlines. Okay, nothing. I watched a video of President Zelensky interrogating North Korean captives. It's a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. Yeah, I thought there's some interesting House bills. A lot of people are really pushing for example, the current administration to talk about the 14th Amendment, Article 3. And I want to make sure people understand his disqualification exists without action, meaning there is no further action required. He's not eligible to take the job. This means that the only way he could get amnesty is before there was a deadline where he was supposed to submit for amnesty from the 14th Amendment, and he didn't do that. So he didn't even do that. Okay? So he was supposed to file for amnesty, and he did not do that. He didn't do any of the paperwork. So no ethics agreement, emoluments clause, no transition agreement. And not the full transition agreement. They had to amend it for him. Okay? But here's the thing. He's not eligible for the job. So there's no reason for the Democrats to not just keep doing what they're doing. Here's why. Here's why the Democrats should just keep doing what they're doing. Elections aren't run like they used to be run. And it's because of Donald Trump. You see, on January 6, 2021, Donald J. Trump tried to get then Vice President Mike Pence not to certify the election. And as a result of that day, they had to change the fucking rules. And they had to make it so the Vice President's job is ministerial, meaning they are just there to administer a certification and they have no power here. This means that if the president of that session, of that certification of that election, is powerless, so is everyone else. So because they have to allow it, and they can't do that because their job is ministerial. Okay? So for everyone out there that like, there weren't even any objections at the certification, you sound like a fucking moron. Because that's not how this works anymore. Yeah, they had to change the fucking rules because of Donald J. Trump. So if you don't know that, if you didn't know the rules changed, I don't want to hear you say, oh, why didn't anybody say anything in the certification? It's too late now. It's certified. No, actually, the Justice Manual 9-85-300 says the DOJ won't step in until it's certified. So for those of you that are like, oh, we don't have time is a flat circle. The January 20th is not required. He can be sworn in anytime. What I fully expect at some point here is another attack. Some other thing. Or it comes out publicly that the people that set the fires in LA received that command from the motherland, from Russia. And then that's an act of war. That's a terrorist act. That's like that's like 9/11. In terms of the cost. And you know, less than 20 people have died, and that's fucking awesome. By the way, I'm actually glad to hear that. That there wasn't also, in addition to thousands of homes, there wasn't also thousands of deaths. Right? So we got lucky. But a lot of people are clamoring for action. They want audits. They want the 14th Amendment invoked now. Right? Nix himself said, "What are you doing?" Well, this is a daily live podcast called Justice's Waiting Room, where we discuss news and politics. Except I'm a socialist. So I just want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. And we were talking about how there are calls for the current administration to enact the 14th Amendment, Article 3. That's not how that fucking works. And it requires no further action. It is self-enacting. That's what I mean when I say it. So a lot of people are like, why aren't the Democrats doing anything? And it's like, because they would be contributing to an investigation. They would be opening a new avenue of investigation. They would be making the investigations take longer because they're providing public statements on issues. And what we've kind of learned is you got 344,000 federal government employees, and that's their fucking job. And you know what they're able to do a lot faster? When you shut the fuck up, they're able to get to the bottom of it and produce charges in a timely fashion. That's right. So for all you that are out here saying, like, how come the Democrats aren't running to a podium and telling you everything? Because that would be extending an investigation by default. By them running to a podium and opening their fucking gullet, it automatically makes everybody's job harder because now there's more information out in the public and now we got to do more damage control. So I hope everyone that watches this show understands that. I'm not mad at Democrats. It's no longer their fucking job. The job belongs to the Department of Justice. And I've been telling y'all this whole fucking time that the Department of Justice always gets its fucking man. Especially when their existence is in question. And I've said, and I ain't no lawyer, I ain't a doctor, I ain't staying at Holiday Inn Express last night. Donald Trump committed motherfucking treason. So did Elon Musk. And so when you ask how come they're running around all willy-nilly doing whatever the fuck they want, I just want you to know they're like trapped in Mar-a-Lago. That doesn't sound like they're out gallivanting, having a great fucking time. Elon Musk is living in what amounts to a fucking outhouse to those people, in a small shed, in a guest house, in a pool house. You understand what I'm saying? Like when he goes, and I think one of the reasons that he wants to be around Donald Trump so he can fucking be his earpiece, tell him everything to say, right? But yeah, I want to make sure people are being logical about the path forward. Going out and protesting that Donald Trump should be removed now, he's not in office. What the fuck are you talking about? Clamoring for a forensic audit. What the fuck are you talking about? Let the DOJ do their job. There's a whole bunch of agencies on it. I can promise. And then I'll give you this is a great piece connecting Elon Musk to Serbia. Okay. Feel free, enjoy. Great fucking article. Absolutely a great read. And then I feel like we got to talk at length about Midas Touch, okay? Because I think it's important to talk about um, adversarial comrades, people who are on your team, but they don't have the same mission. Okay, I want to make it very understood. I don't believe it's acceptable any longer to straddle right wing politics and left wing politics as a means of creating a base. I think the problem with trying to appeal to everyone is that you appeal to no one. I've accepted I've accepted that if you're a maggot and you watch my shit long enough, you ain't gonna like me. And I'm okay with that. Because for every one of you, there's 10,000 people on TikTok alone that chose to support me. What up, Shotty? I'll be back at 10:45 today. I got banned for 3 days. So we said we were gonna do like back-to-back shows today because I gotta come up with a couple $100 to keep my internet on. Because apparently it like came out 10 days early. I don't know why, and it got kicked. So I thought I'd already paid this bill. Now I found out last night that it didn't go through. Yeah, no shit. I fucking hate it. It's what happens when you go with small companies. I'm with Metronet, and for the record, they've been great. Metronet's been fucking great. Their service is incredible. But as you can imagine, when you're like a small company and you got to do what you got to do, I got to pay my bill automatically. And from my experience, I don't actually get to pick when it comes out. They just take it. And again, I'm sort of being pedantic. It's around the same time every month. I'm sure there's like holidays or weekend days in there that affected that. Okay. But yeah, I think we got to talk about Midas Touch and say, look, here's the way I think of it. Okay. I see Midas Touch as mainstream media. I see people like Jessica Denson as someone like me, someone that broke away from mainstream media, who Midas Touch didn't want that content on their platform. And I think Jessica Denson's better for it. I don't think that her show is better with Brian Tyler Cohen on it or with Michael Popak on it. In fact, from my perspective, they were looking like a monolith. And now I think they're just a couple of podcasters. It's nothing special. There's nothing going on Midas Touch you can't live without. It's all publicly available information. And that's a big reason that my show exists, is because I'm able to do the same thing anybody else is able to do, to produce a show, and that's find the stories to tell. Okay? So I feel like we got a bunch out today, right? There's a former Twitter employee calling out Elon Musk for the changes he made to their platform after he became an employee. Okay? We got to do some housekeeping. A lot of people are going to wonder, like, who am I? Where can you find me? I'm on Blue Sky. I go by Likely Alien pretty much everywhere. Okay? Remember, you got where you are. Okay, there's my YouTube page. Been going for about an hour. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, landlords are ripping off LA fire victims. Here's an article from the BBC. Hey, Tony. So, of course, landlords would get our TikTok people over here. One thing I've maintained is you can pay attention to the numbers, but you can't do it during your show. So I gotta act as if. One of the things that I'm not gonna be a different person based on the size of the audience, right? I think that Clapper's the play. I think that people are gonna be strewn across a few apps. I still want to give Neptune a run. I still think Fanbase is great. I think Fanbase is great if you're a musician. But Clapper needs a better name. Okay, I don't think Clapper's it. I don't know that I have a better solution. But I was thinking like ripped off TikTok. ROTK. Rip Talk sounds fantastic to me. It's like TikTok, except fair use. And we're basically ripping videos and ripping off TikTok. So why not just call Rip Talk? Or Rip Clock? Some shit like that. It sounds better than Clapper. Yeah, see, the problem that I have, Adam, is that I'm 6'4", 300 pounds, and I was in the Marine Corps infantry, and MAGAs are fucking cowards. So I can't speak on that because I've never encountered it on any social media website. So if you ever wondered who they're afraid of, you ever wonder who they don't fuck with, who they don't send death threats and messages to, you ever wonder who that is? You're looking at them. They don't want no shit with me. So I can't speak on that because it ain't fucking happening to me. Y'all don't exist. They turn to dust when they see me. It happens in real life too. People that are confidently MAGA are real goddamn quiet and sit the fuck down when I'm in the room. It's kind of a joy. It's kind of a joy to just being like big and fucking dangerous. Is people really don't want that smoke. Like really do not. And I'm still in the gym. I'm a football coach. I still lift. I can still move. I can still touch a rim on a 10-foot basketball. I'm trouble. But I'm gonna get in good trouble. You understand? I'm gonna keep getting on here and telling people the truth. There's nothing anyone can do about that. TikTok don't like me because I'm volatile. Just like TikTok. Right? There's a reason that TikTok keeps banning me. It's a superpower. Oh yeah. When you have governments legislating against your founding company, calling ByteDance a Chinese military power, you have more power than you ever will know. More power than you'll ever know. I don't know if you guys follow Thrawn on TikTok, the giant jacked guy that hits stuff and breaks it with, he cuts wood, and he's like decent looking, so it's whatever. Thor, yeah. He has a video talking about the four things you can do. Okay, and the funny thing is, I beat him to that too. So I had already told people, Mark Zuckerberg is why TikTok's on the chopping block. And if you want to hit Mark Zuckerberg where it fucking hurts, don't use Facebook, Threads, or IG. I did not say delete your account. Don't delete your account. Inactive user is like the second thing he's going to look at. If people stop using his fucking platforms for until shit changes, it's going to hit him in the pocket. Okay? So that was the first thing. I think I didn't take notes or anything, so I'm having trouble remembering what the other things were. But it was don't use meta tools unless you own a business and your business requires that. And then there are 25 people. We're starting to do it, kids. We're starting to do it. Okay? There's 25 people in this YouTube live podcast. Okay? We're starting to do it. We're starting to do it. Okay? Remember, anytime I acknowledge a large group of people, I got to tell you the good news. Like, tell you what you need to be doing. Okay? And you need to get 8 hours of sleep a night. You need to be well rested. And do you know why I preach sleep? Do you want to know why? There's 2 fucking reasons why. Do you want to know why? The first is that the U.S. Army spent a whole fuckload of money to figure out what will have the biggest impact on performance. Is it rest and recovery, sleep? Is it nutrition? Is it hydration? Is it your exercises? What exercises you're doing? And you know what they found? Every 2 hours of sleep less than 8 you get a night is 25% off of your performance capability for that next day. So if you've ever, and understand, there are going to be people that say a lack of sleep doesn't impact my performance, and I would argue that you do not work in performance. Your job's not to perform. Your job's to get up and go fucking clock in somewhere, and that doesn't count. So unless you are an athlete, unless you are a performer, I don't want to hear, or unless you're on active duty in the military, or or you're a firefighter. I don't want to hear a fucking thing about, I can function at 100% of my performance capability on 4 hours of sleep. You're full of shit. You have no concept of performance. It's not in your DNA. So as I said, 8 hours of sleep is going to help you perform at 100% of your capability for the day. And that's per the U.S. fucking Army. Her name, by the way, is Colonel Berger. And she did the fucking study, and it was a woman. And she went to, I believe, fucking Cornell. So when you talk about, is that information good? Yes. Yes. Colonel Berger, I met her, did a fucking study funded by the U.S. Army on what would impact performance the most? Sleep. By 25% for every 2 hours of sleep you miss. And the other reason that I champion sleep is because your enemies do not. All the people that want to harm you, all the people that try to get into elected jobs and pass legislature that harms you, all the people that are actively trying to harm you, they don't believe in that. They don't believe in that. They sleep 4 hours a night. They party all the time. They do drugs. They drink. Right? And you already know who I'm talking about. And you can literally identify the habits of the enemy. And the enemy doesn't sleep. Good. 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 Okay? Now, the second most impactful thing you can do outside of sleep your ass is drink water and eat right. And in case you weren't at my first show on Fanbase, you know that I'm someone who's in good health. When I eat bad, it hurts me. I drank a 2 liter of Pepsi in 24 hours in the last 4 days, and it took me out of commission for a whole fucking day. Why did I do that? When there's bad shit in my house, I try to get rid of it. We ordered Little Caesars, and I went to pick it up, and they didn't have any diet soda. So I just grabbed a 2 liter of Pepsi and said, I'm going to fucking drink all of it. And it made me sick for a day. Guess what? Your opponents, They do that shit all the time. So that's why I say you gotta sleep your ass. You gotta eat right and exercise because the fucking enemy ain't doing it. Their bones are brittle. They're weak. And then you gotta exercise. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I've been telling my kids that I coach in high school. I'm creating an army of me. Instead of having children, I'm coaching football and kids are picking up my behaviors. Sleep 8 hours, eat right, hydrate, and exercise. Now, when you start to exercise, a lot of people they think that you got to do it all at once. And I saw it this morning from a friend of mine on social media, and they said, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the gym and go for a run. See you in a couple hours." And do you know why white people never hit their peak athletically? Because they do dumb shit like that. You see, science says if you want to get better results in your workout, you got to split your lift and your movement. In fact, they need to be at opposite ends of the day. See what your daily schedule should probably look like is like mine. You get up early in the morning and go lift when you're fresh. That's right. Do the hard work. Do the hard work first. And then spend all day recovering and resting. Take a nap, shit like that. Eat right. And then in the evening, you know, you got to go to bed in a few hours. It's after dinner. 7,000 to 9,000 steps. You could ramp it up depending on what kind of athlete you are. Mostly it needs to be you need to be conditioned and you need to work on your short area quickness. And if you ain't doing one, you need to be doing the other. Okay? I could keep going talking about preparing for sports, but we all know that's not what we're preparing for. So again, I'm going to keep saying what I had said yesterday. If you're going to look into protecting yourself, part of the reason that I tell people to sleep and eat right and exercise is because you're going to want to buy body armor and you're going to want to wear it to protect yourself. And you got to fit in it. And if you're too big, you can't even wear fucking body armor. And that's more important than you having a weapon. Because I know a lot of people keep reaching out to me and what kind of gun should I get? You should get body armor. And then you should get a riot shield. A big plexiglass shield that's bulletproof. And you keep it in your bedroom. And when you get broken into and shit and the guy's got a gun, guess what? Guess what saved your life? Body armor and a riot shield. Not the gun. Not the gun. Okay? And if you can cop to that, the regiment, 8 hours of sleep, eat right, hydrate, exercise, think of defending yourself first. And once you've accepted that it's going to be difficult for us to defend ourselves, then you can get a firearm. No smaller than 9mm hollow points. No smaller. And you make sure you tell them when you go to get one. I was told to get nothing smaller than 9mm hollow points. You need something with stopping power. The problem with smaller rounds is they pass through and through, and they don't stop the person, and then they do whatever they was going to do. They just got a hole in them. You tell with the ones this morning. Okay. So I want to make sure if we're talking about protecting ourselves, you can't just buy a firearm. You cannot do that. What if there's 4 of them? You going John Wick at all? Nah, fam. That's a fantasy. Yeah. I think it's a tell that there's not a lot of news this morning. Just so everyone knows, there's not a lot of new news. Okay. Landlords are price gouging people that are victims of the LA fires, and there are 10 burglary suspects already. And remember that this was not an accident. This was not a natural disaster. There's a reason NATO landed in LAX a couple days ago and then flew to Washington, D.C. And we got the flight plan. We seen the NATO Airbus. Okay? And people is mainstream media talking about it? Are they saying, "Hey, a NATO aircraft in the last 72 hours landed in LAX and then went to Washington D.C." Not a fucking peep. Why? Something you've got to remember is all these mainstream media companies are owned by billionaires that are buddies with Elon and Donald. So there's a reason. There's a reason. Fucking crazy. They are still experiencing high winds, and there have been 24 deaths. Well, let's ask ChatGTP. Hey, ChatGTP, does NATO visit member countries regularly? No. NATO summits are not regular meetings. They are important junctures in the alliance's decision-making process. Summits are held at the highest level of North Atlantic Council, the alliance's political decision-making body. They're usually planned far in advance. NATO summits are used to introduce new policy, invite new members into the alliance, launch new major initiatives, build partnerships with non-NATO countries, and provide strategic direction for alliance activities. So I would argue no. No. So people were kind of asking. Okay. Well, thanks, Miss Debbie. I don't think that. Here's what I think. Here's what I think. In the last couple weeks, I had people reach out and be like, "Hey, I heard a rumor. NATO, the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, was in Camp David." And I said, "Really?" And the fact that I couldn't find anything on it, stone nothing. Now, to most people, they would be like, "Oh, clearly it's not true." But to me, when there's nothing, not a drop, oh, that's a tell. That's a tell. There had to be something. People were reporting it as a rumor. But when it's getting scrubbed off the fucking internet and there's no way to find that, that's wild. And then within a week of that question popping up, not only on the 9th, today's the 13th, 4 fucking days ago, the head of NATO, the Secretary of Defense, and Vladimir Zelensky all met at Ramstein Air Base. That's, in my eyes, that's the most significant meeting of the year. Not being reported by mainstream media. Not something you're going to hear. We got a NATO aircraft going from LA to Washington, D.C., and not a fucking word. This was right after. People were people were freaking out about Mark Root being at Camp David at the same, and I think it was Joe Biden flew and went to Camp David or some shit. And the thing that I'd said then, and I maintain that now, is if I had known, if somebody comes to me and tells me they think something happened, and I go to look up see if it's happened, and I can't find a fucking thing on it, it's like, damn, they worked really hard to cover that up. And then, like I said, within a fucking week, the SecDef and the fucking head of NATO? Hello? And also, I want to keep pointing out the ODNI, the Office of the Department of National Intelligence, has not given an all clear, which they did give in elections past. Christina Lane said, I don't know if it's important, but last week there were planes here from the Republic of Korea, France, and the UAE. So yeah, I think it's a crazy time to be alive. Okay. And here's where it starts to crack. So if you don't know who Mueller She Wrote is, Mueller She Wrote was a wildly popular Twitter account. And on Blue Sky, taking over NATO logistics for NATO air defense. It makes more sense given that Poland's next and that Russia's directly attacking in that direction. And it's only a matter of time before they give up fucking with Ukraine and move on to another target. So Poland taking over air defense for NATO makes tons of sense. Trump had a meeting with members of Congress, with Republican members from California specifically. Mm-hmm. Hillside Vibes. I read a CNN article. They're like, Jen Rubin exits Washington Post, joins Norm Eisen to launch a new outlet countering authoritarian threat. It's like, what? A lot of people are following me. And again, one thing you won't really see me doing, and correct me when I'm wrong, is you won't find me being a sensationalist, right? I'm not out here talking about things I can't corroborate, right? And again, I gotta close my show by speaking at length about the team that has been assembled. Okay. Fortunately for me, when I started producing a show on TikTok, I anytime you start, a project, especially when you got a good heart, okay, you're gonna have ardent supporters. Okay, I've been fortunate in that, dude. For the record, I love starting over. I'm a video gamer. There's nothing more that I like than a perfect run. Okay, so if you know that up front, like he loves it when shit just goes fucking perfect. And there's when you do that, when you have that as like an attitude about shit, when you plan shit out and you coordinate shit and you're consistent in the things that you're doing, you're gonna have ardent supporters. And the reason I was saying this ain't my first rodeo, I've built a business. Before COVID hit, I was gonna start a business. I had ardent supporters. I had people in my fucking living room offering their time. Now I have a staff of people that we've called the Modriarchy because all of my mods are women. Without them, this journey's too much. This journey's too taxing. With them, it's nothing. I'll just say it. Without a group of people that are ardent supporters, people that are like, I fuck with you. What you're doing is correct. And it ain't no weird shit. It's not like any of them are trying to like, I'm married. And my wife thinks this is all too much. And she don't even know that the Discord's keeping me fucking sane, right? Because you can't really tell your fucking spouse that like there's so much mis and disinformation flying the fuck around that if it weren't for these group of fucking women keeping me on the level, it would be fucking hard to keep doing this. Fucking hard. Because again, there's so much information. Half of it's misinformation, the other half's disinformation. And there's this sliver of fucking truth running right down and I hate to say running right down the middle, but that's not what I mean. There's this sliver of truth that gets through. That things are actually happening. And again, a lot of people are coming to me about certainty. How are you so certain? It's called the citizen oath. And I can promise you that if you've heard it before, to protect your country from all threats, foreign and domestic, imagine that except you work for the FBI or the CIA or the NSA or DSIC or CISA. Any of those agencies, and you get called to investigate this election. And understand, as a result of Executive Order 13848, it's every election. So all those little MAGA fucking cronies, all Donald Trump's little fucking MAGA cronies that won their elections, that shit's getting investigated too. So for everybody out there that keeps saying, God damn it, man, he never gets in trouble. Donald Trump can do whatever the fuck he wants and there's no goddamn consequences. I have to say it because it's just fucking true. Every business venture he's ever had has failed. That man has paid out over $100 million over the course of his life for all of his fucking rape victims. He literally recently it was demanded of him that he sign a $464 million bond. And his attorney said he don't even have $100 million. He's broke. He's broke. And all these rich people that keep giving him money are not giving him enough money. They're only giving him like $1 million fucking dollars. Hey, just so you all know, so everyone fucking knows, if I'm a billionaire and you ask me for help and I only give you $1 million, yo, that's like me giving you the bird and saying keep the change. That's not them betting on him. Nope. Those are the costs of doing business for Donald Trump. He has to get that money to survive. Not to win. He's not trying to win. He's trying to survive. He locked down Mar-a-Lago. He does it all the time to fuck with the locals. And you think he's just going to walk into the presidency? The fuck? You got Marjorie Taylor Greene posting in a video last week. She don't know if she's going to be able to make it to the inauguration. You got the vice president-elect talking about going to a fucking football game. And here, I want to say this shit about J.D. Vance. And people talking about, oh, it ain't no big deal that he's fucking joking about going to a football game. I was born in Ohio, you fucking idiots. And hell the fuck no. Hell no. If it's get inaugurated as the fucking vice president and the first enlisted Marine ever to do so, or a goddamn football game, I'm getting inaugurated as a fucking VP, and I'm not even fucking talking about Ohio State football, and I don't give a fuck that you went there. I also played Big Ten football, which is more than fucking J.D. Vance can say. I did more work than he did in college. I could promise. So like I said, when you oh my god, they're gonna get in the office. Oh my god, look at him fucking going to a football game. Dude, they're going to a football game because he's not eligible for office. Because of the 14th Amendment Article 3. Remember, there are two parts to the insurrection clause in 14th Amendment Article 3. It says, or given aid or comfort to the enemy thereof. And you got to understand, J.D. Vance he was one of the architects of Project 2025, which was financed through the Heritage Foundation, through Peter Thiel and the fucking CCP. And if you think for any amount of time that if Donald Trump is not eligible for office, neither is fucking J.D. Vance. And a lot of people are saying the Democrats still, or Republicans still win. And it's like, that's not how any of that works. Same thing with all those little maggots who every one of those elections in the United States is going to get an audit, an internal audit. How is LA going to fare with him in office next week? With the fires still raging. Right? You think he gives a shit? You think he's going to cut a check to Cali? You think he's not going to try to negotiate that shit, stall that shit? Nah, man, he was not accepted into LA. His star on the Walk of Fame is constantly defaced. He hates LA. Because LA don't want a fucking thing to do with Donald Trump. So I get it. Everybody's like, oh my god, he's going to get inaugurated. And it's like he's not eligible for the job. He didn't sign the paperwork. Live in the reality that he has been acting as if. You plan to read the Jack Smith report? Yeah. Whenever it comes the fuck out. 2 hours ago, MSNBC says Trump appears desperate to keep Jack Smith's findings under wraps. Maru said JD knows that, and also I think he has a bit of a conscience. Is bothering about what he's done. It was written all over his face. Yeah. Yeah, and that's not out yet. You know, it's one of the benefits of being up and live early is that if it's gonna break while we're here, and we just missed. You know, we were here for an hour and 35 minutes. Is a little after 10 o'clock. I'm gonna get off here, take a break, and get right back on at 10:45. Except we'll be on YouTube Live, and we'll be on TikTok. And hey, we gotta maintain TikTok as our primary account. It has the biggest reach. You know, we got 1,000 followers here on YouTube, and we can get 25 of them in a podcast lobby. Okay? Plenty of people are watching it after. I'm getting more likes and comments and shares and follows than I ever got. Thank you. I love y'all. Again, 24 fucking people in here, which is great. It's 4 or 5 more than we've ever had. Okay? And a handful of you on Clapper. So, again, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to take a break, right? Go walk it out, right? Play with the dogs a little bit. I fed them and put them up before I came and do the show. Okay, and remember, we got 2 songs, a lead song and a trail song. Okay, the lead song is "War" by Edwin Starr, and the link there in the chat is to the original video from 1969. Okay, and then the song has a closing. You think the publishing is just part of the plan? That's a good question. Yeah, because again, it takes it out of Democrats' hands and it makes them less of a target. And you got to understand, Jack Smith is from The Hague, right? Okay. He's an American attorney. Okay. John Luman Smith is an American attorney. Has served in the United States Department of Justice as an assistant U.S. attorney, acting U.S. attorney, and head of the department's public integrity section. He was also the chief prosecutor at the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, an international tribunal at The Hague tasked with investigating and prosecuting war crimes in the Kosovo War. He served as special counsel for the Department of Justice from November 18th, 2022 until his resignation on January 10th, 2025. Okay. He went to the State University of New York at Oneida to get a bachelor's degree, and his JD's from fucking Harvard. Whoo boy. So, for those wondering like who that is, now you know. He's an American. He's also a fucking competitive triathlete. He took up swimming in his mid-30s, competed in more than 100 triathlons. Hey, so you know what Jack Smith does? Huh? You want to guess what Jack Smith does? That motherfucker sleeps 8 hours a night, hydrates, eats right, and fucking exercises. Yeah? Yeah? He's a competitive triathlete with over 100 of them under his belt. Okay? Literally, he can still wear body armor. Okay? And like I said, I'm going to take a little break here. We'll be right back. Kind of have to at this point, right? You're kind of obligated to stay on through the release of this report if it's going to happen. State University of New York? Yeah. He went to New York, NYU at Oneida. I know, it's awesome. It's on his Wikipedia. I'll read it again. State University of New York at Oneonta. Sorry. It's not Oneida. Oneonta. Sorry. Oneonta. Oneonta. It's a public university. So for the record, people always say like you can't go to public college and change the fucking world. I goddamn disagree. I disagree. Okay. The old stomping grounds. Cool. And to close, of course we're thinking about the people and what's going on in LA and how horrific that is. We're also thinking about, because I live in the Midwest, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm thinking about the cold. Okay, and nobody's talking about it, right? And the cold kills just like heat does. Okay, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and they think that they're hardened, and that, hey, you cannot acclimate yourself to cold weather. I'm just speaking fucking facts. Cold weather is debilitating. Now, super hot weather is debilitating too. But, and for the record, both of my fears of dying, burning to death or freezing to death, it's happening like all the time now. So hey, we're gonna get out of here, take a little break. We'll be back 10:45 ish because we gotta wait until they'll let us go live on TikTok.